Okay, hi everyone. I'm very nervous, but I'm so grateful and honored to be able to talk in front of you all today. So, when I was thinking about what I wanted to say here, I realized that I prefer to write instead of speak a lot of the time. There's even been times in my life I've convinced myself I'm half decent at it. Um, I think that the truth of the matter is that I'm the most honest when I write things down. I let myself show up in the most truthful way. Um, there's a box in the attic of my mom's house filled with old notebooks, overflowing with evidence of a life I was trying to make sense of. And tucked into one of those is a poem by Mary Oliver called Dogfish. In it, she writes, "You don't want to hear the story of my life. In any ways, I don't want to tell it. I want to listen. And anyway, it's the same old story. A few people just trying, one way or another, to survive." I'm telling you this now because even as I stand here today, I'm still figuring out what it is I have to say. The stories of our lives, the days that led us here, they're so important, just not enough for a 7-minute talk. So I will try to tell you a short story now. There was a time in my life when I thought any place would be better than where I was. I'm sure it's something we've all felt at some point or another. This time, though, it hit me on a particularly hard Tuesday. I was alone in the only half decent coffee shop in my hometown. I just graduated from college. My whole world felt like it was hanging on a string in the air. So I did the only thing I could think of doing at 22. I bought a one-way ticket to Paris. And and I remember thinking that it was that place, that city of love, that would heal all things. And in some ways it did because I was far. I was far away from where I'd been and the person that I'd been there. And for as long as I can remember, that was what healing had felt like. Distance from, new movements through the days. And it felt like I was allowed to become someone different, someone braver, someone freer. But do you know the wonderful phrase, yes, and? That's where this comes in, because I found myself alone in this beautiful place, and that was magical. I was walking cobbled streets, I was writing in cafes, I was spending long afternoons in gardens and walking around museums, and I was still there. Although it wasn't the me from the coffee shop, and it wasn't the me who used to roll out her yoga mat in between her bed and her desk in her old, tiny college dorm room. And it wasn't even the me who had dreamed of being in places like this. It was the I who I never seemed quick enough to outrun, the one who always caught up. Even on a 6-hour flight across the ocean and through the Orly airport and onto the metro to the town just outside the city, although it was harder to sense then in the quickness of pace, I remember that version of me showing up on the pages of the journal that I kept in those early morning jet lag silences. And so, what I knew then, though not fully, was that wonderful phrase that wherever you go, there you'll be. Back then, there were plenty of things for me to run from, though I would never have admitted it. You see, along with my life hanging on that string in the air, all the ripe figs around just waiting of lives I could have chosen, there was something else that so often made me run. As a girl, I was primed for anxiety, but the panic came later, and it seemed to have root in every step that I took, every breath that I took. It was undiagnosed for a long time until it wasn't, couldn't be anymore. And it certainly explained the grip and the heavy weight I felt on my chest in the middle of the night every day. So at some point, though, that panic turned from a racing heart and gasping lungs into something different. It was dark shadows on sunlit days. It was isolation, self-censorship. It was the non-commitment, the one-way tickets, that constant search for someplace else. And so I'm reminded of Mary Oliver's words again. I wanted the past to go away. I wanted to leave it like another country. I wanted my life to close and open like a hinge, like a wing. And I did. I wanted it all to change. I thought that somehow if I moved fast enough, went far enough, I would find that peace that everyone had always been talking about. The place that you seem to step through like the threshold of a doorway. And maybe that is how you find it, only it never existed in that someplace else, somewhere else. It was always there, maybe just out of view, tucked gently into the pocket of your heart, waiting. What I felt then and have come to articulate now is rather simple. The landscape of the world I see takes shape from the ones I tend to inside. So I began to think about the worlds that I had existed in and the worlds I wanted to become. Worlds of joy, of course, but also of stillness and of curiosity. Worlds of kindness that absolve pain. Worlds of warmth that you feel even on cloudy days. Worlds of peace. So I started to practice, painting those things on the canvas of my mind. I sit still and I watch as the waves go by. I twist my body into funky shapes. I breathe deep down into my belly. I watch, I listen, and I learn how to stay. And slowly, very slowly, things start to take a different shape. Not because anything has changed in the outer world, of course, but the postures of my mind have. In the middle of the poem, Oliver writes one line, one that I return to most mornings and evenings in those mid-afternoon slumps that really get you down. Mostly, she writes, I want to be kind. And I think that's the point, at least for me right now in this season of my life. To watch and to act, to find that abstract union we're always talking about, to learn the steps of the dance, to return and to learn again and again how to stay and how to be kind. Thank you.